Hello everyone, good morning. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to day 2 of the Global Gateway Forum. My name is Henry Foy. I'm the Brussels Bureau Chief of the Financial Times, as it says there. You'll be having that throughout the session to keep track of who's speaking. As you can see, we've got a very busy panel packed with lots of insight and intelligence, and as I undoubtedly have the least of both of those things, I'm going to speak for as little as possible. But just to set the scene, today, secure and trustworthy digital infrastructures and technologies underpinned by adequate regulation make up the foundation of our economies and our societies. The 2023 Global Gateway flagships for digital infrastructures cover a wide range of actions, including trans and intracontinental digital connectivity, combined with greater data resilience and security. Greening digital infrastructures from submarine cables and terrestrial backbones to last-mile digital infrastructures. The EU is taking forward a number of strategic partnerships to advance the digital agenda under the Global Gateway, including with Smart Africa, the Latin America and the Caribbean Digital Alliance. An important part of this is digital economic packages with partner countries, designed, for instance, to expand digital connectivity, upskill jobs, and drive digital governance and services. I hope we're going to hear about some of those today from our panelists. The digital agenda also cuts across other priority themes of the Global Gateway, including green energy transition, education and research, critical raw materials, transport, and of course, health. Additionally, the Global Gateway strategy for digital transformation puts emphasis on e-governance and supports digital startups to promote sustainable growth and decent jobs. So, to begin, I wanted to invite our first keynote speaker onto the stage, and we're very, very honored to have today Vahagan Khachaturian, the President of Armenia. Thank you.
Excellencies, dear friends and colleagues, first of all, I would like to thank you, President von der Leyen, for this important initiative to hold in inaugural Global Gateway Forum and for bringing together a great number of high-level participants of exchange view on vital topics. Dear friends, Armenia has always been committed to expanding partnership with the European Union, its member state and other partners in all areas of mutual interest for the sake of prosperity of our peoples. More specifically, connectivity projects have been among the priorities of Armenian government for quite some time, and we stand ready to take further joint steps to us to huge potential of the Global Gateway, including to make possible green energy export to Europe. Armenia is keen to explore its participation in a regional connectivity project, including the Black Sea underwater electricity and fiber optic cables. Regrettably, we see continuous efforts by some countries to isolate us from regional and trans-regional projects. In this regard, we really want the European Union partners' understanding and support. Another important initiative is the EU4 Digital program to support the digital reform agenda in Armenia. It promotes key areas of digital economy and society in line with European Union norms and practices in order to bring economic growth, generate more jobs, improve people's lives, and help businesses. The program builds on a long history of Armenian-EU partnership in the field of e-governance and digitalization. I believe we should also consider promoting cooperation in the area of artificial intelligence, where Armenia already has significant achievements. I am convinced that there is no need to elaborate on the importance of AI, just to mention that it can serve as yet another tool for our common goal of ensuring broader connectivity. What we also need now is to jointly speed up the implementation of EAP Economic and Investment Plan, and namely it is 5 flagship initiatives designed for Armenia. To do so, we need strong coordination, cooperation, and determination. One of the flagship initiatives for Armenia is investment in digital transformation, innovation, science, and technology. Speaking about flagships, yesterday I was pleased to attend the signing of the statement of intent by Commissioner Varley and EIB Vice President Fellow on the realization of 2 education centers to be constructed in the Syunik region of Armenia and operated by COAF. The organization's name is Children of Armenia Fund. Started as a singular infrastructure improvement project and grew into a holistic initiative through the delivery of education, healthcare resources, social services, and career training in conjunction with economic and infrastructure initiatives. COAF has made an impactful difference in 42 communities. Over the last 2 decades, the project has positively alerted the lives of 100,000 youth. The COAF project, along with 2 more creative education centers, are sort of Armenians' know-how that we are keen to share with others as concept of promote kids, initiatives, and visionary ideas. This will help to further strengthen the links between formal and non-formal education. Moreover, the construction of this smart center in Syunik will contribute to development of southern regions of Armenia. The rapid technological development and the increasing role of technology and the digitalization in everyday life provide opportunities for enhanced communication and cooperation across continents. However, that has also increased different kinds of threats and information manipulation techniques. In this sense, we stand ready to deepen our cooperation with EU and another interested partners in fighting hybrid and cyber threats. This information which directly target democracy and the democratic institution in Armenia. Ladies and gentlemen, during the last couple of years, and especially after the ethnic cleansings in the mass exodus of Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh, we are facing unprecedented challenges which increased the importance of access to secure and reliable digital infrastructure and technologies. I believe a genuine political will and determination of political leaders to establish just peace in our region are preconditions for developing such infrastructure. I want to take this opportunity to stress that Armenia is fully committed to the reopening of the north-south and east-west communication in the region, including through the territory of Armenia. This will link the Caspian Sea to Mediterranean, the Black Sea to the Persian Gulf. And this can not only serve as a long-term guarantee of stability and development in the region, but also became an important link for global economic cooperation. Armenia is keen to become part of regional project within the concept of crossroads of peace. Ladies and gentlemen, as an economic professor, I would like to conclude my statement by telling a very obvious truth. The investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Absence of peace in many regions, including my own region, forces us to spend enormous resources for defense and weaponry. Once we come to a clear understanding that by investing rather in education, we invest in our future, we will have an interconnected, predictable, and prosperous world with many open global gateways worldwide. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would now like to invite our second keynote speaker, the Prime Minister of Serbia, Ana Brnabić. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This is my favorite topic, digitalization. So I thank you for organizing this event in general and inviting me to speak as the Prime Minister of Serbia, a country which wants to become a part of the European Union, a country which is in the accession process, and a country which has been changed quite dramatically in the most positive way and quite significantly by digitalization. So for those of you who are thinking about ways in which to change your country for the better, digital, if you ask me, is the best thing. And I'll tell you a little bit about our story. I started digitalization of my country in 2016 as the Minister of Public Administration. And the role that, the goal that I wanted to achieve was to have a much more efficient, much more transparent administration which fights corruption and is available to its citizens and businesses literally 24/7, 365 days a year. And the only answer to this was e-government. Now, I have my colleague, Prime Minister of Estonia, Kaja Kallas, who will probably be able to tell you much, much more about this. Because when I became the Minister of Public Administration, we really look up to Estonia to see what you were doing and to learn from the best. And we have certainly changed the approach a little bit because it needs to be adapted from country to country because it's not as simple as just putting everything in electronic form and digitizing everything. It is really about understanding the processes, the laws, and thinking about how to change these processes, thus change the laws, and only then do it digitally. But we made basically the full government electronic government. So now, since that time, we have been exchanging more than 200 million documents electronically, but making our citizens not going from one counter to the next and from one building to the next, but actually doing it at any time of the day and being available for them to provide service day or night, weekends or work days. As I said, 365 days a year, and making everything transparent, meaning fight against corruption. So I'll tell you just one example. Construction permitting process in Serbia was one of the most corrupt processes ever. Since we made it fully electronic, we made it fully transparent, it cut the corruption, and now if you look at the World Bank Doing Business Index, Serbia is one of the top 10 countries in the speed and efficiency of construction permitting. This is what e-government actually does to your administration. And then when I became the Prime Minister, I said, listen, we should transform our economy from the one which is labor-intensive driven to the one which is innovation-driven, technology-based, which adds value to our people, our country. And again, we started with digitalization. By starting to change our education, as the President of Armenia said, education is the key. Back in 2017, we have actually introduced coding and programming as mandatory subjects in our primary schools from 5th grade, which when children are 10 and they're 11 years old. Now, in their primary school, they learn Scratch, Python, Jupyter, and Pygame. And in 2021, we had the first generation of primary school kids leaving school with the full knowledge of coding. It was amazing. In parallel, we increased the number of specialized IT departments in our secondary schools and built additional capacities, additional buildings for our tech faculties, tech universities, to enable them to increase capacity, so to enroll more students. In parallel, we invested about 300 million euros in infrastructure for startup companies and innovation companies, built as much as 4 science and technology parks across Serbia, geographically located, and started basically providing for an ecosystem, which basically proved to be the definition of, if you know the American movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. That is exactly what happened. We built the science and technology parks, and suddenly startup and innovation companies in Serbia, mostly as anywhere, established by youth, started to appear. Now the result is that in about 10 years ago, 2012, our annual IT export from Serbia was 375 million euros. This year, it will be 3.8 billion euros. The ICT sector became the fastest growing sector of our industry, growing at a rate of 43% year on year. Even during COVID times, it grew, and it helped our economy to keep employing people. It helped our economy not to decline too much. So even in 2019, our GDP declined only 0.9%, thanks to the services sector and ICT in particular. In 2021, every second new job created in Serbia was in the ICT sector. That is how fast a country can change if you invest in education and you have a clear way forward. So for comparatively smaller countries, such as Serbia, which is only about 7 million people, a country which can behave as a startup country, because it can change quite rapidly, it can adapt quite rapidly, digitalization is certainly the way to go. Going forward, the key focus areas of ours is artificial intelligence. In 2019, we have adopted AI development strategy. 2021, we have established our AI Institute. Last year, we have become one of only 29 countries to be part of the global partnership on artificial intelligence. And we have developed an AI infrastructure in our state-of-the-art data center, which is available free of charge to all of our startup and innovation companies and all of our research institutes. The next big thing next to AI is biotech. IT and AI, basically result is biotech. So we're going to invest 300 million euros into what we call a Bio4 campus, a campus which will house all of our research institutes, faculties like medicine, biology, chemistry, and the private sector companies, and we have already signed MOUs with companies such as Pfizer, Merck, Japanese Takeda, AstraZeneca, to basically, again, build an ecosystem for biotech, certainly the future. And the last thing is really to, by 2025, build rural broadband so that even the most rural villages and the furthest houses are connected to the high-speed internet. We hope that this will also enable people to stay there. In 21st century, in addition to building a physical roads, you need to build a digital roads, which is rural broadband. And finally, I would like to say that all of this has been done with the full support and also financial support, extremely importantly, by the EU and EU institutions. We've been supported by the EU, we've been supported by European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Investment Bank, and other EU financial institutions. So together, I think Team Europe, we can win. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that fascinating lecture. We're now very lucky to have the leader of the EU's own digital star pupil, Estonia. So Kaja Kallas, Prime Minister, thank you so much.
Dear guests, it's great to be here for this event, and I'm glad that European Commission is doing this annual Global Gateway Forum. Just over a month ago, I had a chance to also welcome you, many of you, in Tallinn for the 6th Tallinn Digital Summit, and actually it started with the idea of global connectiveness. There we also talked about the global gateway. In the 21st century, the crucial challenge in the competition for influence really lies in infrastructure and connectivity. We live in a world that is being transformed by digital technology, green transition, and regrettably also by mounting geopolitical tensions. To deal with this, we must increase our efforts to unite and bring in more like-minded and trusted partners, connecting countries via energy, data, transport, and other corridors is a central idea of the European Union. doing this also in the rest of the world is what Global Gateway is all about. Joining the efforts of the European Commission and the Member States acting in the Team Europe spirit is key to having greater impact. Mark Leonard, the author of a book called The Age of Unpeace, says in his book that connectivity enables to hurt one another. I know that it sounds very harsh at first, but what Mark Leonard says in his book is that by acknowledging the risks, we can also overcome this. By having connections always have two sides, so one connection side might also hurt the other one. So I couldn't agree more. The recent events in the Baltic Sea clearly show how important it is to monitor and protect the critical infrastructure. Man-made damage was discovered on the Baltic Connector underwater gas pipeline and interruption on 2 communication cables. This is the second time in just over a year when critical infrastructure in the EU has been disrupted. It also stands as a reminder how crucial diversification really is. The Baltic-Finnish gas market depended on the Russian gas monopoly until Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. Now we have replaced Russian gas with trusted sources. We also built new LNG infrastructure. Thanks to this, the Baltic Connector gas pipeline damage does not affect the daily lives of our citizens. The same goes for data cables. Now, because of diversification, we have managed to reduce the critical dependence. But we cannot stop here. In addition to land and sea, the next decade will also bring us challenges from the space. We must make sure that our digital societies continue to function in the event of crisis. They must be resilient. So looking at 5G and upcoming 6G networks, safe and transparent technology and diversification of satellite communication capabilities is something that we need to think about already now. Together, we need to further strengthen the resilience of our infrastructure, including digital infrastructure, with the help of efficient monitoring systems, quick response mechanisms, and cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Global Gateway is our investment in the trusted connectivity together with our partners. We want to build tomorrow's digital economy by taking into account the needs of every partner. Digital technology is an efficient enabler for democratic and good governance, just as we heard from the Prime Minister of Serbia minutes ago. It helps us to facilitate access to education and healthcare and boosts the economy and green transition. When Estonia restored its independence in 1991, our country was in a very poor state. We set on a long journey of extensive and painful economic reforms. It was supported by an early adoption of electronic identity and the digitalization of government services. So today, 99% of our government services are offered online, ranging from paying taxes and electing the parliament to registering your newborn's name. Digital transformation has allowed us to achieve much greater transparency and efficiency, and it has given citizens better access to government services. Like Anna just said, it is also important for economy to function because you can't bribe a computer. Also, foreign investors and entrepreneurs have found it easy to do business in Estonia. I'm describing this approach because it illustrates the mindset that should form the basis of governance in the 21st century. We should not think of innovation purely in terms of innovative products or transformative technologies. Innovation needs to be put into the service of our own people and democratic governance. Innovation can help to improve the standard of living for everyone while respecting their privacy and rights. A government that is digitally close to its citizens has also allowed us to achieve much greater transparency. And I wish that all people benefit from digital transformation and infrastructure. The Global Gateway gives smaller states like mine an opportunity to contribute, to cooperate and amplify where it matters the most. Estonia's e-governance model allows us to call ourselves the world's first digitally transformed state. We Estonians are sincerely happy to be a catalyst for change in our partner countries and to offer the possibility to learn from our experience. Thus, Digital for Development is an excellent platform for creating synergies within Team Europe, as well as with partners around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, Estonia is participating in numerous Global Gateway flagship projects in Africa, Central Asia, Caucasus, and elsewhere. We contribute to digital infrastructure and the e-services sector within the larger projects. Based on our own experience, my country believes in and promotes open source, reusable, and human-centric solutions. The creation of Estonian digital identity system in 2002 has been one of the most significant digital infrastructure projects in Estonia. It triggered the development and uptake of e-services accessible for all Estonians. As a result, our administrative burden decreased significantly. At the same time, there are still millions of people globally who do not have any official proof of their identity. Thus, we must all work together through trusted partnerships to change that with the help of digital solutions, to give people access to government services and benefits. Or another example, together with Germany, the International Telecommunications Union and Digital Impact Alliance, the GovStack initiative was created. This is an open source community establishing global standards for the digitalization of public sector infrastructure. GovStack makes it easier, faster, and more reliable for national, municipal, or local governments to implement secure digital government services. Technological openness is an asset in its own right. An important part of digitalization and online connections is that one must always be aware of cybersecurity. Criminality exists in the physical world. Malign actors exist online too. Estonia has experienced cybercrime many times since 2007. Our lesson is that the development of digital infrastructure must go hand in hand with the ensuring of cybersecurity. Given the more prominent and indiscriminate cyber attacks, it is evident that cybersecurity needs to be set as the cornerstone of digital transformation ahead. We have to embrace a new way of thinking by adopting trust by design principle on larger scale. It has to be implemented in our strategies, operating models, and also our products and services. Estonia nearly doubled its annual cybersecurity budget last year. This is also why we have been actively supporting the establishment of cybersecurity ecosystems in various countries for over a decade. For example, through the EU CyberNet initiative, Estonia helped to establish a regional cybersecurity competence center in the Dominican Republic. A key ingredient of trusted connectivity is resilience. Cyber warfare is being integrated into regular warfare as an established practice. In Ukraine, Russian cyber attacks, though largely unsuccessful, preceded the so-called conventional war. The perpetrator has continued to target data centers and communication infrastructure. We need to adapt to the rapidly changing security environment. Dear colleagues, the strength of our market economy-based democracy is the private sector. Estonia's digital transformation could not have happened without also close relationship and partnership between the public and private sector. Pooling our resources and expertise with the private sector is also key to delivering the objectives of the Global Gateway. 90% of European companies are small and medium-sized. Thus, we must work on how to attract SMEs to contribute. This can be done by improving communication on how to engage in activities within large flagship initiatives. The Commission is shaping the Global Gateway in the same vein with the private and the public sector working together. The EU and its member states need sustainable partnerships to broaden the prosperity and security of Europe and our partners. Closer cooperation with the business sector will help us to deliver more quickly on the green and digital transitions and also boost our economy. We must aim to build broad coalition of open countries throughout the world. By working together with trusted partners, we are building a more connected and secure future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to all three of our keynote speakers for giving up the time to be here and for their insights. Before we begin the panel, I wanted to invite Doreen Bogdan-Martin, the Secretary General of the International Telecommunications Union, to give her summary of those remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here, and really an honor to be able to join this session here at the first Global Gateway Forum. I'm of course grateful to President von der Leyen and Commissioner Urpilainen for bringing ITU into this conversation and for recognizing digital as a key driver of sustainable development for people and for planet. As the Prime Minister just mentioned, and I think I'm going to use that soundbite, digital is the best thing. We like to say that at the ITU. And I think that's what brings us here together today. So I wanted to ask you to think for a moment, what is digital infrastructure to you? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it a cell tower? Is it a submarine cable? Is it a satellite? Maybe it's a data center, a cloud server, or even a digital payment platform. Well, for me, it's actually the 2.6 billion people around the world who are today what we would call digitally excluded. And of course, the many, many others that actually struggle to stay online because it's too expensive, because they're afraid, because it's not safe, or because they don't have the basic digital skills, picking up again, Prime Minister, on the importance of those digital skills. So let me offer a few reflections. A few reflections about the importance of digital infrastructure. Digital infrastructure will be valuable to the digital have-nots only if we can combine it with affordability, with safety, with literacy, and everything else that makes connectivity meaningful. For this, we need an approach that's holistic, and we need an approach that focuses on equality, that's equitable. We're already building the networks of the future, fast, performant, interoperable. They are the driving forces behind the technological revolution that we're seeing in artificial intelligence and other areas. But how can it be equitable to the third of humanity that's not even part of the broader digital revolution in the first place? My second point, while we're working to make digital infrastructure secure, to make it affordable, and to make it sustainable, we also need to ensure that investors, both public and private, have a stable and predictable environment that allows them to actually innovate. And I wanted to share an example of something that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and some of you, I think, will be there. Next month, ITU member states will gather in Dubai for the World Radio Communications Conference, where they're going to be addressing a number of critical issues, from allocating spectrum for things like 5G, to the expansion of satellite broadband, the outcomes of the WRC will offer stable and predictability. We need that predictable and stable environment in order to be able to accommodate new and innovative technologies that users are seeking. It's also going to help to secure trillions of dollars in long-term investment that governments and the private sector make every day in the network infrastructure that supports our economies and our societies. And that brings me to my final point, and it was picked up by our distinguished previous speakers. We're all in this together. As President von der Leyen said yesterday, and this really struck me, we are here to move forward together. The ITU is delighted to be collaborating with the Commission, to be part of the Global Gateway, working together on a number of forward-looking initiatives, from our work on measurement of meaningful connectivity. If we can't measure it, we can't move it. Our work on the joint SDG fund, the new window on digital transformation that we're leading together with UNDP. Our work on digital public infrastructure, where we're supporting some 100 countries to bring solutions that are safe, that are accessible, that are affordable, that are green. And of course, our work on school connectivity. And Mr. President, I took well your focus on investing in education. That's absolutely critical. And we're working with the Global Gateway on our GIGA initiative to connect every school to the internet. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I do think that it is time for bold and audacious action, as the DSG of the UN said yesterday. And the Global Gateway is actually about bold and audacious action for sustainable development at a time when developing countries face a staggering $4 trillion gap in sustainable development investments. This forum, this conversation today, I think it's our opportunity. It's our opportunity to refocus efforts on investments in smart and sustainable digital infrastructure. Infrastructure that can drive positive, lasting change for our planet, for our people, and for our communities. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you to all of our speakers for setting up the panel brilliantly. I mean, I'm going to ask all of the panel discussants to come up in one go, if that's okay, just for time purposes. So I'd like to invite Anna Bjerda, the Managing Director of the World Bank Group, Nuria Kutaneva, Minister of Digital Development of Kyrgyzstan, Ronaldo Andre Tinoco, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Costa Rica, Jessica Roswell, the Minister for EU Affairs of Sweden, Yusuf Maitama Tugaun, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, Benjamin Diokno, Secretary of Finance of the Philippines, and Melissa Shob, the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer of Nokia. Thank you all for coming. Okay, I'm told the microphones are just on, so don't play with them, or talk into them if you don't want to be heard. And don't worry, my first question is not going to be how quickly will you all be like Estonia. It's a sliding scale. Anna, I wanted to start with you. Obviously, the World Bank participates in projects all across the world in lots of different areas. I mean, how would you see Global Gateway's role, and where can it best add value to existing efforts to promote these digital connectivity issues in countries?
Great. Thank you so much, Henry, and good morning, everybody. Let me just start by welcoming this forum, and also just stressing how delighted the World Bank is to be part of this. We really see this as a super strong pillar in our partnership, and I would also add to that the renewed emphasis on partnership that we're all putting on ourselves to be able to step up to the very significant and intertwined challenges the world faces. So I do just want to say the three previous speakers are all very close to my heart. Armenia, because Armenia is a hotspot for digital innovation, creativity, and has really launched a lot of creative ideas. And I'm very pleased that the World Bank has been part of supporting that through the Gyumri Innovation Hubs, for example. I was delighted to hear the Prime Minister of Serbia talk about what's actually been able to be achieved through digital governance. The World Bank supported a project in 2019. And finally, Estonia leads the way, as you say, and we actually have benefited from Estonia's experience around the world, including Estonia's contribution to the World Bank to set up a multi-donor trust fund for cybersecurity. So coming back to how can Global Gateway make this happen, I think we're all convinced on this in this room that digital is, and ITU just said it, digital is everything. And if you get digital right, everything else can happen. And I think the fact that the Global Gateway is present in all regions of the world and is willing to take on difficult, challenging programs and projects and fund those is the game changer we're looking for. Because some of these operations, the Black Sea undersea cable, is hugely complicated. But if we're willing to invest in it, I think it will pay off. So we at the World Bank are very much looking forward to coming to the table because these are multi-billion-dollar endeavors. They require governance. They require institutions. So I think this is a huge opportunity. I was also struck, I was going to use the number myself, 2.6 billion people who don't have access today. One of the challenges we see in the World Bank is that we still have a lot of people who don't have access. We also have internet available, but people are not connected. So if you look at Africa, 3G, 84% of Africans could connect to the internet, but only 22% have. So there's a disconnect between the availability of infrastructure and the use of that infrastructure. So we need to really, really lean in and invest in all of this. So for me, the Global Gateway is one very important pillar among many, but at the end of the day, it's going to take a focus on three areas in our view, and they've been touched upon already. Infrastructure is key. The platforms for services and applications is key, and then the skills. Because there's no use putting the infrastructure in place and not actually having the skills that are able to absorb it. So I could speak so much more about all of this, give you examples. I think we saw during COVID how important it was to make sure that digital could provide relief at a time when we needed it. I think what Ukrainians have been able to do through the DIA application, reach 19 million people with 120 services during the worst of wars, and the fact that the green transition will require all of this help with digital. So huge opportunities, we must focus on it front and center.
Thank you so much. Madam Minister, I wanted to ask you about Kyrgyzstan's particular experience. I mean, what sort of strategies are you putting in place as a government to make sure that these benefits are brought out of the issues that the Prime Ministers, the President, and Anna just mentioned?
Thank you so much, Henry, for your introductory note and your question. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates and friends, I am truly honored to be here and to discuss the vital topic of digital infrastructure and its profound impact on our digital transition. Today, I'm excited to share the remarkable progress that the Kyrgyz Republic is making in the realm of digital development. Over the past few years, our country has been deeply involved and deeply committed to advancing digital transformation and bolstering our digital infrastructure. This is especially crucial in a country like ours, which is characterized by its mountainous terrain. The widespread deployment of broadband networks is especially important in such conditions. I am pleased to share that our broadband penetration has surged from 19% in 2019 to very good percentage of 31% in 2023. This remarkable achievement has been made possible through the support of our international partners and particularly under the Digital Casa Kyrgyz Republic project, which was possible thanks to World Bank. Our goal is to further enhance our digital infrastructure to the benefit of our citizens. In Kyrgyzstan, we have observed a fascinating trend in mobile technology. With a steady residing population of around 7 million people, we have a surprising 7.5 million smartphone users, with 90% of them using mobile internet. What's more, a staggering 98% of our populated areas are now covered by 4G networks. The cost of mobile internet in Kyrgyzstan is the second cheapest in the world, with a mere 15 cents for 1 megabyte of internet traffic. 5 years ago, Kyrgyzstan introduced the so-called Tunduk system for data exchange, data interoperability, modeled after the Estonian experience. Using this opportunity, I thank my Estonian colleagues for good cooperation in the digital sphere. This platform ensures the secure exchange of electronic data between government bodies and commercial organizations. It's worth noting that every transaction on this platform is signed by timestamp and electronic signature. Currently, the system facilitates more than 1 billion transactions among 300 different information systems. This has dramatically simplified the lives of our citizens. For instance, 400,000 people seeking financial assistance no longer need to acquire numerous certificate documents from various ministries. All the required data is seamlessly retrieved from different information systems, free of charge, through the system of Tunduk. Additionally, the Tunduk system is being used for innovative applications like quick loan approvals and vehicle re-registration, streamlining bureaucratic processes and saving citizens valuable time. We have also introduced digital documents in the mobile application Tunduk, which have legal recognition in our country. This means that we no longer need to carry physical driver's licenses or ID cards for domestic flights, banking transactions, or interactions with law enforcement. We are actively working on expanding this digitalization to include marriage certificates. Taking this wonderful opportunity, I would like to demonstrate my driver's license in my smartphone in the mobile application Tunduk. So here is my smartphone, and here, just a second.
Global Gateway in
see,
action.
this is the mobile application, and here you see there is digital documents. And it goes to Kyrgyzstan, actually. So there are two documents. This is my ID. I hope no personal data is seen here. And here is my driver's license. Mm-hmm. So I can show this, and I actually show to road police. Thank you. To road police and in the bank, so it is legally binding, legally admittable. Furthermore, and in this mobile application, one can see about 50 paper documents, and I can show it to any of the public agencies. Furthermore, the Kyrgyz state authorities have transitioned from paper-based letters to electronic communication. The use of paper-based letters between public ministries has been prohibited, leading to increased efficiency and digital skill development among our public servants. In the realm of education, we have launched several projects to encourage more girls and women to pursue STEM and IT fields, resulting in a significant increase in female enrollment in engineering and IT programs in 2022 and 2023. I am myself the mentor for female girls, school children, and I am very proud about it. To enhance the integrity of our elections, we have adopted biometric data, fingerprints and facial geometry since 2017. This has not been only reduced different risks, but also significantly bolstered public confidence in our electoral processes. Election results are now available immediately after poll stations closed. This is a substantial step forward in transparency. To further advance our digital agenda, we are in the process of developing the digital code of the Kyrgyz Republic, which aims to harmonize and systematize legislation related to digitalization and e-government. Important to know that in 2022, we have established the Personal Data Protection Agency, and I was the first director of this Personal Data Protection Agency, which works to protect the personal data of our citizens. We work to build trust of our citizens and guarantee their data security. To attract technology companies, we have set up the High Technology Park of the Kyrgyz Republic, which offers favorable 5% of income tax for employees. And the company pays only 1% of tax of their total revenue to cover high-tech park administration. This policy has led to remarkable results, doubling the high technology park's turnover each year, from around 200,000 in 2014 to an impressive 100 million this year. And we put a target to reach 1 billion in the nearest future. Our high-tech parks mission is to cultivate a skilled IT workforce that can work globally while also promoting Kyrgyzstan as a destination for tech companies to thrive. In our pursuit of digital transformation, we recognize the critical importance of high-speed internet infrastructure. Thus, we are actively seeking partners willing to collaborate and support us in creating a fully connected digital society. In conclusion, I would like to proudly underline that with the support of our international partners, including our strong partner, European Union, Kyrgyzstan is making remarkable strides in digital development. And we are eager to collaborate with our global partners to ensure that our citizens possess the necessary digital skills, and the digital transition we are undergoing brings maximum benefits to the sustainable growth of our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for the demonstration. Perhaps if you bump into any Belgian government officials, you could chat to them, because as a resident of Belgium, I would quite like to have this stuff. Minister Tinoco, we've heard a bit about security, about protection of citizens, about data protection. I understand Costa Rica's had some incidents recently with cybersecurity. I mean, how important is it to look after citizens, to look after the country when we're talking about digital infrastructure? How much of a priority is that for you?
Thank you, Excellency, dear friends. As this is the first time I take the floor, please allow me to express my appreciation
Sure.
To have the opportunity to participate in the Global Gateway Forum 2023. And of course, I want to refer to the issue of cyber security regarding all of this new digital world. Digital security is a main concern for our country, and therefore it is a public policy priority. The integration of new technologies and infrastructures for connectivity requires maintaining the highest international cybersecurity standards. As you have said, Costa Rica, which is located in Central America, between Panama and Nicaragua, and has 5.2 million inhabitants, received a cyber attack last year, 2022. Government services were seriously attacked. It caused serious consequences for the services provided to the citizens. The Ministry of Finance, which was the main target of the attack, saw its tax collection system impinged, as well as the customs registration system, which impeded the proper registration of duties on exports and imports. 1 month, we were almost not able to pay the payroll for the public servants. Another essential institution, which is the social security system of the country, was also affected seriously, altering all the appointments for operations and consultation of patients, their digital files, and the payment of salaries and pension funds was a problem. And that was 1 week because before we took over government.
Oh, wow.
So it was a good start. Our experts have identified worrying growth in cyber threats, gaps in systems and applications become opportunities for malicious actors, allowing infiltrations, malware, and spread and fraud. The continuous technological evolution, the greater connection of devices aggravate this panorama. With the move towards a more digital society, there is an increase in the amount of data online, raising the risk of breaches. This exposes confidential information and undermines public trust, which impacts ranging from identity theft to financial loss, affecting individuals and organizations. Attacks on essential systems, such as power grids and transportation systems, can trigger catastrophic consequences. They are vital to our communities, and if compromised, the repercussions can include major economic losses, service disruptions, and risk to human life. It is not only necessary to have efficient and inclusive services, they must be secure services that do not jeopardize the safety of information and the proper functioning of institutions. It is also necessary to develop, as said, digital skills in the general population and service providers in the field of cyber security. This has led our country to issue a cybersecurity decree, especially with view to the public bids regarding 5G technology that will open up this year. And we have included a provision according to which all providers of any kind of equipment, technology, and devices must belong to the Budapest Convention. Therefore, the country took a political decision to grow in this sector together with Europe and the US, applying European and US technology for the upcoming 5G networks. Of course, that's a decision that has caused some discussions. Even we have been brought by one of the affected companies before the Constitutional Court, and now it will be the court system that decides if free trade agreements are more important than national security or not.
Interesting. Thank you.
But some examples of how we have been working with Global Gateway, perhaps for Costa Rica. One, in the field of digital health, we're working closely with Portugal to improve and enhance the unique health digital record, EDUS in Spanish, through the Technical Assistance and Information Exchange, TAIEX instrument, with the aim of sharing Portugal's healthcare system experiences and its digital platform to substantially improve our EDU service to our citizens. With Spain, we also are working with hospital waiting lists and clinical trials. In the second, in the field of cybersecurity, the initiative CyberNet, implemented by Estonia, has allowed the country to improve the capabilities in this area. This is an example of collaboration already in place that we can deepen in the framework of Global Gateway. Third, another very important project is regarding last mile connectivity. We are collaborating with various social, academic, and business stakeholders on projects related to last mile through regional cooperatives in coordination with the central government and the EU, and within the framework of the Global Gateway, these cooperatives have engaged with projects such as BELA and other potential funding and cooperation entities, representing a significant step toward extending connectivity to all areas, including those near the country's borders. Fourth, artificial intelligence is being developed with the help of the EU, mainly to improve and update our national system for employment with the use of artificial intelligence. And fifth, last, Costa Rica is also participating in the EU-LAC Digital Alliance. In this sense, I am pleased to hear that after the official launching of the alliance last July in the framework of the EU-LAC Summit, the alliance is progressing very well with its first digital week to be held next month in Cartagena, Colombia. Costa Rica, as a committed partner to the Digital Alliance, will be very motivated to actively participate in this meeting. Last but not least, the development of digital skills and competencies in areas such as cybersecurity and emerging technologies is a priority, as well as the promotion of continuous training by both companies and government in technical and professional fields.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Minister, you're obviously Team Europe's representative on the stage right now. I mean, I'd be really interested to hear from you what you think solutions, joint initiatives that could be done outside of the EU to work with the private sector and to work with countries in the Global Gateway to bring about these initiatives. I mean, what's Sweden's experience? Where would you like to go further?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on this panel. First, let me just stress that my government is looking at development assistance as very much in line with the Global Gateway. And since my government, Swedish government, came into office 4 years ago, we have worked very hard on this. And in one example, which is very clear, is my colleague, Mr. Johan Forssell, who is Minister of both International Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade. That's clearly an example on how the Swedish government is working. And the reason for that is obvious. We need to mobilize more private capital to tackle big challenges over time, and especially because of, we all know, the investments, the gap between high-income and low-income countries. And building digital infrastructure is one of the biggest challenges that we have. And as Prime Minister of Serbia said, we need both old highways and new digital highways. And as a minister, Team Europe, of EU affairs, I would say this is, I see the benefits, of course, of combining efforts at the EU, at the EU level to tackle global challenges such as the digital transition. And the EU and its member states are the biggest international donor in the world, but and I think I have to admit that we need to coordinate the efforts better, both with private businesses and with each other. And that's why I think the Global Gateway is so very important. So I have also a couple of examples to how we can strengthen digital infrastructure outside the EU and also with the help of the private sector. And my first example is actually one who just brought up from my Costa Rican colleague. And in March this year, during the Swedish presidency, we participated in the launch of the Global Gateway flagship EU-LAC Digital Alliance. And this is the first regional digital partnership between the EU and Latin American and Caribbean countries. And this became the starting point for the creation of a digital investment agenda with the EU and the Latin American and Caribbean private sector, which has been taken forward after the EU CELAC summit this summer. Secondly, Sweden also wants to be a strategic partner in Africa to help to boost trade and sustainable value chains and act as a knowledge partner for research and innovation. And within the Team Europe initiative, Digital for Development, in sub-Saharan Africa, Sweden has taken the lead for formulating a component called Africa-Europe Digital Regulatory Partnership. And now I look at my Nokia friend, because I think that she maybe talk a little bit more on how to improve digital connectivity also. Also, both, and also that was mentioned earlier on, it's important to bridge the digital divide, or I think you said digital excludence. Thirdly, my last point is that Sweden is an Arctic nation, which put us in a position to improve connectivity between the EU and partners in the Indo-Pacific region. And this is precisely the purpose of the Polar Connect initiative, which will roll out a submarine communication cable through the Arctic region. Wow. I was also very impressed.
Yeah.
And this is important, and it was also mentioned earlier. And this will ensure that the digital infrastructure that we rely on is, of course, secure and resilient. And at present, there is a lack of such capacity to secure the end-to-end communication. And in this year, 2023, a Swedish consortium with both public and private partners applied for EU funding within the Digital Global Gateway, in order to start phase 1 then in this Polar Connect route. Interesting.
Which country does it land in, or which countries?
I don't know exactly which it landed in.
Okay.
No.
We should find out.
We should find out.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Minister, I wanted to ask about Nigeria specifically. Sorry, yes, round of applause. Team Europe. Mr. Minister, I mean, could you talk a bit about specific barriers to investment in digital connectivity in Nigeria? I mean, where you've heard a lot of people here talk about where they're trying to solve problems. I mean, could you talk a bit about Nigeria's specificity? I mean, where do you see the barriers to connectivity? Where have been the great achievements?
Thank you for this opportunity. Happy to be here. Well, it's a no-brainer. Infrastructure.
Right.
There's not enough of it, even though a lot has been done within the partnership of the EU and Nigeria. We've dragged fiber to Nigerian waters, to Africa, main one, WICO. There's a lot also happening in terms of a partnership with some of our GSM operators, Nokia and Ericsson have done very well, which has brought about 49% of Nigeria's 220 million people being on the internet, having access. What we're trying to do is get the other half to get on. So we need radio, we need ISM radio to take the internet to the villages, to the rural areas, so that the young talent being added onto Nigeria's population, because we have 25,000 new talent being added to our 220 million people every day.
Wow.
And we want them in the future to be the ones that are leading in terms of data labeling, AI data labeling, in terms of bringing about new advancement in the application of AI and other digital technology-related advancements. So for that, we need a lot of money. We need a lot of investment from the public sector, from private sector. European Investment Bank is doing a lot. It needs to do more. We're neighbors. We're partners. We must not forget that the original intent by whoever it was that named the Mediterranean Sea in Latin is to describe water in the middle of land, not the other way around. So we are neighbors, and this is the best way to tackle irregular migration to get us busy. And we've seen what can be achieved. There are companies like Andela, like Global Outsource, that are doing a lot in terms of supplying talent to Europe, to Lithuania, far-flung places, because they have trained those young people in the use of the internet and in specific fields. There's a demand in Europe, we have the supply. Yeah. So it really should be a partnership, and we have to come to terms with the fact that we have talent being added. Europe has a receding population, so that is a match made in heaven. And we don't necessarily have to come to Europe, across the desert or in boats, to be able to supply that talent. It can even be done remotely, as Andela and Outsource Global have shown.
Yeah.
Within Nigeria, the Tinubu administration is revamping over 3,000 training centers. And the goal is to add 3 million tech-savvy Nigerians within the 4 years of the administration. And of course, this is just the beginning. There's much more to do, and we're ready for the work.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, I wish you lots of fruitful meetings here. I hope lots of other delegations are keen to talk. Mr. Secretary, listening to your colleague there, do you hear similar things that you would talk about barriers in the Philippines, or is it not about infrastructure there? It's about something else.
Similar. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. The Philippines is not as big as my neighbor here, but still not small. Population, 110 million. Okay. It's archipelagic. 7,200 islands.
Yeah.
So that's the first challenge. How do you interconnect physically and digitally the nation? Okay. And in the past, we have a record of underinvestment. We spend only about 2% of our GDP for infrastructure.
Wow.
So that's not sustainable. Okay. So, but the previous administration reversed that. They invested something like 5 to 6% of GDP, and we continue to do that. But even that 5 to 6% is not enough for what we want to do for the next several years. So we have identified something like 179 big-ticket items, projects, worth about $154 billion US. Out of that, five projects are connected to interconnection, worth about $1.7 billion. Okay, so that's the first problem. The second challenge for us are the regulatory barriers.
Right.
There are some areas that are not, that we have, under the Constitution, we have identified areas where foreign investors cannot come in. We reversed that. During the COVID, we did not sit idly by and wait for the virus to subside. We reformed the environment, the investment environment. We actually relaxed the entry of foreign investors 100% in many areas, including telco, shipping, airports, toll roads, and etc., and also renewable energy. But recognizing that all governments face budget constraint, I don't think there's any government who has enough funds to fund all what they need. We strengthen the public-private partnership mechanism. So we, in fact, we recently consolidated all the laws on public-private partnership mechanism and consolidated into one law, making the system more efficient, faster to implement, and the procedures are simpler. So through these efforts, the Philippines aims to bridge gaps in digital connectivity and infrastructure. These projects and other initiatives will be instrumental in connecting markets, urban and rural areas, expanding supply chains, simplifying public and private transactions, improving the educational system, and more. And we are striving forward to ensure digital inclusion for all Filipinos and to foster an enabling environment for innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Shobe, you are our private sector representative, so thank you for taking the plunge and coming up here. Could you talk a bit specifically about the role that Global Gateway plays in making sure that companies like yours are brought in touch with people like the guys on stage? And also, you have an opportunity here. What's your sort of wish list for EU policymakers as a private company in this space?
Okay, and I'm the last panelist.
And the last panelist, so don't take too much time because the clock's already telling us we've run out, but ignore that.
Well, first of all, thank you, a huge thank you to the organizers of this event to invite Nokia to participate. We're honored and so proud to be actively involved in the Global Gateway Forum. Nokia today, many of you perhaps think of us as a phone handset manufacturer, but the Nokia of today is one of the largest telecom infrastructure companies. We have an extensive portfolio across mobile, fixed, cloud, and also submarine cables, which is getting a lot of interest these days. And we roll out those products in 130 countries around the world. We see immense potential for digital solutions to create a more productive, sustainable, and inclusive world. Private investment advances connectivity and digitalization at a great speed, but as Doreen said, again, that figure, that massive 2.6 billion people underconnected, which some of our panelists also addressed, shows that there is a limitation to what the private industry can do on their own. So, to your question specifically, we think there's a huge potential for the Global Gateway to help de-risk private investment for projects which deliver, I think as the panelists have all touched on, social, economic, and environmental value that unfortunately we believe many of which would not happen without that type of support. Specifically, we see two opportunities to make the financial impact of Global Gateway more attractive, ultimately to deliver impact at scale, which I think we're all in agreement needs to happen. So first, the need for speed to accelerate the delivery of European financing in line with the urgent needs of the Global South. Second is collaboration. So to improve collaboration between development banks and export credit agencies to develop additional attractive financing tools to support trusted and reliable infrastructure. This also would include investments in greenfield projects. This would support private sector investment in digital infrastructure, which would enable the e-government services our panelists addressed. Remote working, we know that's a huge challenge. And then importantly, cybersecurity as well, all addressed today on this panel. By facilitating the rollout of such technologies with trusted and reliable actors, we believe Global Gateway could have a double impact. So the first is it would help bridge the digital divide while strengthening the resilience of the connectivity of European partner countries. So we think it could have a massive impact. To conclude, at Nokia, we believe there is no green without digital. Our CEO repeats that everywhere he goes. Collaboration between the public sector and trusted companies is essential to bridge the digital divide, to create sustainable development, and to enable the green transition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there a floating mic? I understand we have one intervention from the floor from a colleague from Tanzania. Could we get the mic here to the front, if you could be as brief as possible. Yes. Many of the ministers have bilaterals coming up, and so we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opportunity. Just in 1 minute, digitalization is proving to be very effective in Tanzania in terms of facilitating two things, among many others. One, in the context of overcrowding classrooms and in the context of never ending of teacher shortages. Digitalization is proving to be very important in quality education delivery. So this is very important. But also secondly, in the context of complex banking systems where the banks are struggling to enroll customers, especially in the rural areas, digital has proved to be very important in terms of financial inclusion. So many of our people are now able to transact digitally. And going forward, as panelists said here, infrastructure is very important, and we're very grateful to our European colleagues for the support they're extending. Now we have a project that are worth around 35 million euros, which are supporting our digital infrastructure development, and therefore I think it's very important. Otherwise, I share with all the panelists' contribution that they've said, especially in the area of infrastructure, to bridge the gap between the rural and the urban areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I've learned a vast amount today, but there's somebody far more important and interesting who's going to sum it all up for us. We are very, very lucky to have Vice President of the European Commission, Vera Jourova, here to sum up our panel. The floor is yours, Vice President. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very much good morning to everybody. Henry, do you want a long version or short version?
Give us the best version.
Okay, so I will give you both.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was amazing discussion, and I think that it was so interesting to listen to each of your plans, even to the wish list of Nokia. And at the same time, one has to come to a conclusion that together we can do and achieve more. So thank you very much for that. I am here on behalf of the Commission to reassure you that we are ready to keep prioritizing digitalization and cooperation with the countries through the Global Gateway. Also in the future, you know, the mandate is coming to the end next year, but I'm absolutely sure that the next EU representation will continue doing the same thing. It was a reassuring moment. What I heard from you is very much in line with the Commission strategy and Commission plans. I will go into that in a minute. But to wrap up what I heard here, yes, to quote Serbian Prime Minister, digital is the best thing. But for me, the well-being of the society is better. And digitalization can and must help it. Also, because I agree that there will be no green without digital, there is a very, very close connection. We heard a lot today about digitalization which needs trust, which needs trust from the citizens, but also the priority of trust from the side of the technologists. We need the digitalization to be accessible and affordable for everyone, nobody left behind. We have a strategy for 2030 for Europe, digital decade. We have a plan to have 80% of people who will be fully able to connect through digital technologies and get their driving licenses and services done through digital. What shall we do with the 20% who will not be able to? Well, we have to think about them as well. So affordability, accessibility, adaptability of the society, smart private public financing and investments, and last but not least, reasonable and future-proof rules. And you know, Europe could speak a lot about that. We are sometimes seen as the queens of regulation, which is not true, because we have what. We have at least as intense work on, as I said, smart investments, but also investing in people, because technologies cannot flourish and develop without brains. But coming back to the rules, we are now finalizing the trialogue on Artificial Intelligence, AI Act. This is the first of this kind globally. Set of rules, and I can tell you it's fascinating work, because we are now adding new chapter on generative AI and foundation models with not much evidence of what it is and what it might be. So of course to adopt the rules which we call future-proof, it's a little bit brave, but we have to do that. What I want to say, where the Commission is very much in line with what you were saying, it's clear Global Gateway plays a pivotal role in the endeavor of international cooperation in digital sphere. Since its launch, the EU has prioritized digital connectivity investments. We cannot do it alone, but of course with a broad range of partners, investors and recipients alike. This is why we have set up collaborations like the Digital Alliance between the EU and Latin America and Caribbean, and why we have been working on joint investments with the US, India, through the respective trade and technology councils. These partnerships have led to joint initiatives with countries such as the Philippines and Costa Rica, represented here today. Happy to have a chance to meet you in person. The second thing I wanted to say, and I already touched upon that, without individual rights and without security, the dream of connectivity can quickly become a real nightmare. This is why bridging the digital divide while upholding human rights online must be two sides of the same coin. Similarly, ensuring the cybersecurity and trustworthiness of digital infrastructure is of the essence, as the only way to ensure sovereignty in this technological age. Through the 5G security toolbox, the EU has developed an objective basis for assessing security risks to 5G networks and take proportionate measures to address them. As for June this year, the European Commission announced that the suppliers identified of higher risk than others will not be eligible for any EU funding. Bringing connectivity, rights and security together in a coherent plan is the essence of the digital economy packages the EU has announced with partners such as Nigeria, Colombia, Kenya and the Democratic Republic of Congo, worth in total over 1.2 billion euros. Based on their successful rollout, other packages are currently in the pipeline. My last takeaway from today's discussion, and what I wanted to share with you on behalf of the Commission, that we are already allocating more external funding than ever to digital initiatives, with more than 20% of our overall envelope dedicated to digitalization. We are also investing in flagship projects that can have a multiplier economic effect in the regions. Yesterday we launched the Medusa project, a state-of-the-art cable system that will connect the EU with the southern neighborhood across the Mediterranean. It will expand over 7,000 kilometers and connect 9 countries with high-speed connectivity, multiplying opportunities for digital business, research and education, communities in North Africa and Southern Europe. But all of this public investment is just a small part of what is needed. We will never bridge the digital divide without strong partnership with the private sector. Europe is home to some of the leading telecommunications companies in the world. When joining forces, we can make a real difference. Another example of such public-private scheme is the EU new low-orbit satellite constellation, which is set to benefit our partners in Africa, the EU neighborhood, and Central Asia, by providing connectivity in some of the most remote and rural regions. They are always the hardest to access, and here space can bring a real solution. Allow me to finish by saying that I leave this conference with renewed optimism. I said to you, I find this meeting, this conference, this panel, as a reassuring moment. The optimism stems from the conviction that if we work together among partners and between governments and businesses, we are each day one step closer to achieving the great promises of digitization. I am glad that Global Gateway can contribute, and we are ready to intensify our cooperation. Henry, this was the short part.
That was brilliant. Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention.